That's the problem with kids today. No respect. In my day, back in my day, we would have gotten the belt from perfect strangers. That's what we need more of, right? Like you see these things. Teens and preteens, am I right? So, are you a parent who interacts and has teenagers or preteens, and it seems like everything is a struggle? It seems like the connection maybe you used to have when your kids were little kind of is disappearing and breaking apart. It seems like everything you do seems to be wrong, and you don't know how to manage the situation. You don't know how to connect with your kids. In today's video, we're going to take a little different approach. We're going to take a little different of a look. We're going to have a reaction video, but not like we've done in the past. We're going to take a look at a Pixar short. This one is called Snack Attack, and it involves how we see teenagers. We're going to apply this to teenagers and adjust and do what we can to adjust our own view, adjust how we see the situation so that we can create that connection. But before we do that, my name is Jesse, and I help parents by providing them with the tools, strategies, and support so that they can break those generational cycles, so that they can break that guilt cycle and ultimately write their own family story the way they want and create that connection with their kids that lasts forever. Whether we're kids or teenagers or adults or parents or teachers or whatever, we are ultimately looking for that connection. Don't let your teenager fool you. They want a connection. They just don't know how to show it. So let's take a look at this Pixar short and see what we can take away from it. Let's go. I mean, just in video creation, before we get into the parenting stuff, I mean, just the visual, right? We see that that's the only snack in here. That's the only snack that she has an opportunity for. That's the last one. So there's that urgency, right? That feeling that this is the last one. That is so frustrating when that happens. Oh my God. She earned that. She worked for that old lady. So right here, we are set up with an image just based on looks, based on appearances. And this goes into being presumptive, right? Our presuppositions of teenagers. He has kind of like a mohawk. He's listening to loud rock music that we can kind of hear through his headphones. We have a very distinct feeling for this type, and it creates our presuppositions. It creates our image of this person, in turn creates our reactions to events. And a lot of the times as parents, this is what happens. Our child, they go into the room and they lock themselves in there, well, not lock themselves, but they close their door, they go into the room by themselves, and it's easy to think, oh, what's their attitude? Or they might have like a down face or something. What's their attitude? Rather than look at it more objectively. So I guess that's the first lesson. Let's take a look at things more objectively. That's a challenge to myself and a challenge for you to take a look at things more objectively and try as much as I can to remove an emotional reaction to the side so that I can be more objective and see things as they are. And if I'm not sure, ask. Which notice she didn't ask. Okay, so also, he didn't ask either, right? I think this whole thing could have been avoided with a little communication. That's another lesson right here. That's lesson number 2 for me is communication. Sometimes the simplest thing, if he would have taken his music out and said, oh, are these yours or do you want one? Maybe something like that, because he obviously has a good heart. He's not defensive because he reached over and cleaned off her lap. But without that communication, then she's continuing this momentum of a bad image, a negative image of what he's doing. First, he stole her cookies, and then he reached over and touched her lap. To her. To him, she's eating my cookies, but I have to clean off her lap. So a little communication, just one little question could do it, goes a long way. Again, communication. Like, look at her body language. Her body language is not healthy communication, but she's upset. But he kind of looks kind of an innocent look in his eyes here, but a little words would have had a question. When all else fails, not even when all else fails, our first go-to should be a question. If I'm thinking solution-minded with my kids or with anybody, any human relationship, is to ask questions, is to go for a question. So I guess that's a takeaway challenge for you, is next time you're in a place where there could be miscommunication, where maybe your emotions are starting to rise, maybe triggers are starting to form, what question can I ask? What question can I ask me? I have a training on when those mental raccoons which creep in, that create that guilt, those guilty feelings, that parenting guilt. The first question, is this real? What's happening here, right? So it might be a question to myself, or it might be a question to my child, or it might be a question to my student. I'm sorry, can you say that again? Something like that, right? Communication, spoken, verbal communication goes a long way. Asking questions. Questions first. Questions first. The nerve of this young man. You see, kids today, that's the problem with kids today. No respect. Back in my day, we would have gotten the belt from perfect strangers. That's what we need more of, right? Like you see these things, people's ideas that kids today, but you know who else talked about kids today have no respect back in my day? You know who else talked about that? Our parents. You know who else? Their parents. You know who else? Their parents. It's a generational thing. That's what we do. Same thing. Music today, it's just noise. They said that about Jimi Hendrix. They said that about the Beatles. They said that about the Rolling Stones. They said that about, every generation, Elvis. So rather than getting into blaming, shaming, comparing with your ideal of what the past was, right? We look to be solution-minded. Remember our video with Remember the Titans, and then with Rocky being solution-minded, thinking of the objective. What example am I showing, right? And then asking questions. What question can I ask? First, what's happening here? Second, how can I ask them a question of what's happening based on their perspective? Especially when we have kids, and especially when our kids are teenagers, because asking them questions does a few things, right? For one, it clears up miscommunication, but more importantly, maybe not more importantly, but it validates the other person. It validates them because we are asking them their opinion rather than projecting our perspective onto them. We are asking their perspective, which validates them, which raises their self-image, which raises how they feel. And then when they feel raised, they will raise their mood, their sense of self-worth. And when people feel good, they make other people feel good, right? And that's what we're going for. It's not, I'm making it sound easy. Sometimes it's not easy. And I want to keep that in mind. Sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes our tempers get the best of us. But it's not what happens. It's what happens next. And he even says goodbye. He salutes her goodbye. She's not having it. She's not having it. He just stole her last cookie and then had the nerve to offer her half of her own last cookie from the last pack. See, we looked at presuppositions earlier in the video. Now it goes back to her first interaction with him. She has a presupposition of him, an idea about who he is. So regardless of whether he's shared or as, innocent eyes, welcoming eyes, regardless of anything, she already has this image of him. So everything that comes after falls into that image. Same with parents. We have that self-image. Oh, my child, they don't like anything. All they want to do is fight. All they want to do is go into their room. They don't even want a relationship. Oh, they're just so difficult. They never want to help out around the house. They're so lazy. Whatever you want to say about your child based on maybe what they've demonstrated in the past or based on maybe that their style is different than your style. Maybe they want a mohawk and you don't like that. Maybe whatever, they want to dress like goth and that worries you. Whatever the case is, questions. right? We all have our presuppositions, and it's human, it's natural, and these are the human things that is very important to kind of control, because that comes from the human animal side, not the human greater mind, the human, let's call it spirit, or the human energy, the what's inside of us, not this physical, animal, meat suit, but what's inside. If we look at what's inside of us, then we can start to open up communication. And that was almost a look to me like at first she was like, she felt, it looked like guilt a little bit. And then as we move on, she had kind of a look of almost happiness that her presupposition was wrong, that he was a good human, that he cleaned her lap, that he shared. He didn't get upset when she was the one who stole the cookies. And he even threw the cookie wrapper away. He has an image that we can have a presupposition about, that we can have an idea about. And whenever we have an idea or a presupposition in our mind about something or about somebody, about whatever, even if it's dogs, if a dog bit you when you were little, so then you're afraid of dogs, then you're viewing the world through the goggles of dogs are mean and unpredictable, and that's all that we will see. Let's take a deeper look. There's something in our minds called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is essentially the mechanism in our minds that filters out everything that is unimportant and is not a value or a priority in our lives. So, for example, a classic example of this is if I'm looking at a Toyota Camry to buy, and I buy a red Toyota Camry. All of a sudden, when I drive that off the lot, I'm going to see red Toyota Camrys everywhere. What, did everyone just suddenly buy a red Toyota Camry? No, but they were always there. But now my reticular activating system is to the point where it catches the Toyota Camrys on the road that were always there. But now that is a high value for me. That's very important to me because it's new in my world. So the same thing, if we change that to parenting, if my reticular activating system says, and I tell myself that I'm a bad parent, or I'm messing up all the time, or if you are reliant or your default is to go into these generational cycles, I'm just a yeller. My mom yelled, my dad yelled, my grandma yelled at me. I was raised by my aunt and she was always yelling at me. There was always tension in the house. So now there's tension within me. And then I find myself yelling at my kids, but I don't want to. Or maybe you're a hitter, or maybe, well, my family was just broke. We didn't have money. So we're just that type of family that doesn't have money. I don't know how to change that. Or I am addicted to gambling or drugs or alcohol or whatever. Your reticular activating system is filtering out all of the information that doesn't align with your identity of yourself. And our brain does that because there is so much stimuli that if our brains processed every single thing that came into our vision and in our awareness, in our sounds and sights and colors, it would just be an overload, right? So even if you take a look at the screen here, if you see in your peripheral things that you kind of didn't notice until you're noticing just now, maybe something over there, maybe something that's on the floor, or if you're somewhere else, you're noticing a green jacket or a blue pair of shoes, or you filter certain things out. So the trick is to raise your identity and raise your focus on specifically what you want so that you are seeing opportunities to raise your level of communication, raise your level of awareness for money, raise your level of awareness for opportunities, raise your level on how strong you are, right? If we see that, if we set our reticular activating system on that toward our kids, oh, look at like she smiled, rather than, oh, what's going on with you? You're different. What's with that smile? Does that encourage more smiling? Or if you notice, oh, look, she smiled. That's a win. Okay, let's keep going with that. It's a little different, right? Or if they bring their bowl and put their bowl in the sink, maybe my teen has an internal dialogue. Oh, I just need to get better with putting my bowl in the sink. And then they do. What's our reaction? Is it, oh, what's the occasion? You're putting your bowl in the sink. What's wrong? Are you feeling okay? Does that encourage more behavior like that? Or what if we celebrate? Hey, thanks. That's really amazing. Thank you. Thank you goes a long way, right? So first, I guess the biggest points, three biggest points and takeaways from this that I've gotten is, number one, be aware of my presuppositions on others, presuppositions on other people, presuppositions on situations at home, presuppositions on my kids, presupposition on my partner, presupposition in general, on my situation, right? Be aware of my presuppositions. Number two, communication. Open communication as much as possible, because without communication, we are at the mercy of our presuppositions, which are probably not accurate. And number three, to tune our minds, to tune our focus, to tune our reticular activating system, RAS, toward the life, the situation, the outcome that we want, rather than be stuck in the same cycles of reaction that we don't want. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So that was Snack Attack. So if this spoke to you, there are more videos on this channel, but also much more training in our Patreon page, Apparent Leadership. This is a great community that I'm building up. I want parents, powerful parents in this community. I want to build a community of parents who uplift each other, who want to be better, who will strive to be better, who make decisions to be better, and who can support each other so that we can be in a community together. If you want to join a community like that with trainings, there are tons of free trainings, free videos, free resources, ebooks, exercises to help you get to that next level, to help you control those cycles so that they're not raising your kids for you, but you can create the story that you want to create for your family. We're going to break generational cycles and create our own story. The link for that is below. You can join for free. There's also a paid option, but you can join for free. Let's connect. I appreciate you. Until next time, let's do it.